Hope the wing's okay. Oh, I crashed.
Alright, welcome back to another episode of Reacting to Crash Videos. In this video series, I take a look at paramotor crashes, evaluate them, and try to weigh in with some lessons so that we don't repeat the same errors in the future, hopefully making the sport a bit safer. In this particular episode, I have 4 different video clips we're going to look at. Each of these are kind of beginner-friendly type mistakes, which may be the most valuable to look at. Before we get into this episode, today, the day that this video is going live, is the second to last day to get entered to our big Parajet Maverick and Aviator Paramotor training giveaway. I'm giving away my personal Parajet Maverick with a Moster 185, as well as a slot for training with Aviator Paramotor. They're the guys I recommend everyone go to train with. If you are not entered yet, make sure today or tomorrow you get entered, and you can do that by going to tuckergott.com, checking out some of our new designs, and every $5 spent on the web store gets you 1 entry to win. The drawing is coming up very soon, so be sure you get entered. Someone, whoever wins this, is going to have a life-changing opportunity ahead of them. All right, this first video comes from Pete Hobbs in the UK. All the videos will be linked in the description. Pete is up flying around, and it looks like his LZ is a park that's kind of surrounded by populated areas on 3 of the sides. It's a kind of tight LZ, definitely one that may require a little bit of experience to get in and out of safely. Pete comes in for this approach and realizes that he's too high, but he kind of just commits to the landing, sees that he can maybe run out a little bit farther, but ends up gliding directly into a tree.
Near the car? Oh, this will hurt. Hope the wing's okay. Should have bailed it. Oh dear.
Luckily, no harm done. He wasn't injured. I'm pretty sure he got his wing out in one piece. Very simply put, Pete describes in the end of this video that he just overshot the landing. He was coming in too high and he knew it, and he failed to take the opportunity to do a go around and set up again. Couple things. If you're coming into a landing and you realize that you're too high, there's 2 main ways that you can kind of get down lower. One of which is holding half brakes. That decreases your glide by adding some drag, and it kind of makes you come in at a steeper angle and shortens up your approach. The important thing about that is that you have to release, or you should, back into full flight before you get to that flaring point. The second method you can do is some mild S-turns to decrease your glide. It's going to do the same thing, just bring your target back a little bit farther in the case that you're high on approach. Also, same sort of idea, you have to get out of those S-turns and stabilized again before your final flare. The third option of what he could have done in this situation is obviously just go around. He hadn't killed his motor quite yet, and kind of early on you can tell he's high, so he definitely could have just done a go around and set up a second time. Let's go on to video number 2. This is from Daniel Williamson in New Jersey on the beach. This is also a very beginner type mistake. Daniel's just flying down the beach with his buddies here, and at some point during this flight, he just drops his toggle accidentally. Can happen to anyone. A little bit of butterfingers and that toggle gets loose. And what happened was, in the process of trying to regain his toggle, he let off of his throttle, got distracted for just a second, and tanked it into the sand.
Oh, I crashed. I'm down. Damn it.
Luckily, the impact wasn't that great. He was totally fine. But it's interesting because I remember very vividly when I first got into the sport in the first year, I did something almost very similar to this. My point in saying this is, in the beginning, it is an easy enough thing to do. When one thing goes wrong, you get distracted and you can just let off power. It seems kind of dumb, but it happens. Main thing is don't let yourself get distracted. If something little like this happens, always keep focus on your flight path and prioritize what you need to do to stay in the air, which in this case would be holding cruise power or even climb power. Add that power, get some more altitude so you have more time, and then worry about grabbing that left toggle. Video number 3, this comes from a channel called Paramotoring Pitsy. This is an old one from 2014 and it's a water landing. Basically the pilot is out here over the ocean pretty far out in not a very good situation and his motor dies. The first thing he does right here is pulls in his trims to try to get the maximum glide and points himself towards the shore. The very next thing I would do in terms of priority would be trying to restart my engine and maybe diagnose if there's anything I could fix. After a couple attempts of that not working, my third priority would be, in this case, unclipping all my straps. We often talk about how water and paramotors are super dangerous. I'm terrified of landing in the water because I don't swim well. And in this case, he's really high and he has a ton of time to get his leg straps and chest strap unclipped. This pilot kind of waits till the last minute and then starts fumbling with his leg straps and in turn goes into the water while he's dealing with those clips and doesn't really flare into the water. That's the only thing I would have really done different to try to recover this scenario is to unclip your straps earlier. Luckily, this pilot had flotation on, so he was all right. Big lessons from this one is, first off, try not to put yourself in a situation where if your motor simply died, you would be fully committed to water. And that was the situation that started this whole issue. Beyond that, he did a good job with pulling his trims in and turning towards the shore immediately. However, I personally would have started unclipping my straps sooner. Some pilots talk about jumping out. However, I've heard that's not a good idea because it's hard to judge how high you are and you might just jump out too early and slam the water. Okay, on to video number 4. This one comes from a buddy of mine, Shondor, who I actually met last weekend for the first time ever. I think this happened about a year ago. Shondor had gotten kind of complacent with flying through goalposts, which I myself have done plenty of times. However, the thing about going through a goalpost is it's kind of cool, but you don't want to get too deep or those goalposts are going to snag your glider. And that's exactly what happened to Shondor. The left side of his glider snags the goalpost, it turns him, and pretty much slams him into the ground. We have another pilot's perspective, and in this one you can actually see that the goalpost snaps, and when Shondor impacts the ground, his fuel tank actually explodes, which is super sketchy. As far as injuries go, he broke his foot, 4 toes, injured his knee in 4 different ways, and ended up needing to get some minor knee surgery. Luckily, since this happened, he's made a full recovery, is back flying again, and he even took full responsibility for the goalpost and paid back the school to fix it. The overall lesson on this one is pretty simple. Just don't get complacent and know where your wing is at. When you're flying by trees or goalposts or any obstacles, it's kind of hard to judge in your peripherals where your wingtip is and where your lines are. So when in doubt, just give yourself extra room. This 5th and final clip is not a crash at all, but I wanted to share it in this video because it just happened and it's super cool. For the longest time, paramotor pilots have been asking the question, can you do a full loop or a backflip powered in forward flight on a paramotor? It has never been done, to my knowledge and anyone else's knowledge, before, until this man, Demetrius, pulled it off. There's not a whole lot of information I've seen about this, but from my understanding, they used a really powerful engine and a specialized wing. And when you look at the video, it appears like he gains some energy by spiraling, uses a speed bar, lets off the speed bar, and yanks a bunch of brake, probably at full power, to complete this maneuver. I thought this was super cool, and I feel like in the progression of a lot of sports, there's always these firsts. And then once the first happens and people realize that it's possible, a bunch of other people start following suit. So I'm curious where this one's gonna go. So those are all the clips I had for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope now that the video's over, you check out the web store, the first link in the description. We're not planning on reprinting any of these designs, so make sure you get them before they're gone. Make sure you get entered into the Parajet Maverick and Aviator Paramotor giveaway before tomorrow. Outside of that, thanks for watching. Till the next one, have fun, fly safe, peace. Zip.